right, unless I'm not starting yet. Well, you got to turn me off because I'm going to take a minute. right, I want to talk to you about the mystery case. And I want you to begin by Googling Hall versus Billy Jacks. It'll come right up. There are, I counted 7 articles about it. While you're reading it, I'll tell you the backstory, which is not important, but it's interesting, it's amusing, and I think you should know this, because this was just another one of my impossible cases that no one else in the history of the world would have taken. Why? I'm going to persuade you. I'm going to persuade you on that point. I won't have any trouble persuading you, I'm sure. Paul came to me in the early 80s. It was probably, it shows when I filed this suit. I made notes here. I'll tell you later. It's like 81 or 2, doesn't matter. And he was a young, derelict, alcoholic. He had a cap in his skull where he used to have, it was like a 3 diameter cap, steel cap, where he used to have skull, until he went to Billy Jack's tavern on Highway 92 in the Plant City, just outside of Tampa. And as a result of that visit, he sustained a blow to his head that left him epileptic for the rest of his life. Fine, I said. Tell me all about it. What happened? Well, I don't remember. I don't know. He was a drunkard. A bad drunkard. And I explained to him, I have to prove negligence on the part of the tavern to recover for you. But here, your case is, your claim is going to run out on you. The statute of limitations is going to toll your claim. So we got to file your lawsuit. You got to come back to me and tell me what happened. I shouldn't be doing this, but if I don't do it, you're going to lose your claim. So I pled, this general stuff about negligence. I can't remember what I pled. It must have been really, really dopey. But this is a life lesson for you, especially anybody who wants to be a lawyer. All Billy Jack's carrier had to do to get me dismissed was to file a motion, was to take Hall's deposition. But the carrier didn't want to spend, a few $100. Right. Just keep this in mind now. They could have taken his deposition, and then that would have been, when they found out he didn't know how it happened, they would have filed a motion for summary judgment, attaching that deposition as an exhibit in support thereof. And I can see myself circling the drain, okay? That would have been it. They didn't do that. They didn't want to spend, what would it have cost that, back in the early 80s? $300 maybe? Court reporter fee, paying the attorney. So there was no discovery done in the case. And now it's like 2 weeks before trial. And Hall comes into me and he tells me, I remember everything that happened and how I got injured. I said, geez, how the hell did you do that? I was giving up on this case, really. I was getting ready to dismiss it. He said, well, he was really concerned, frightened about the prospect of the trial, and he was scared sober. He was scared sober long enough. He was scared long enough to remember what happened. Okay, and this is what he said. He said, and this is all he said. This is all he knew. A man named Spillers. Oh boy. I just thought of something. I did not amend the complaint. Just remember that. This is 2 weeks before the trial. I did not amend the trial. I never heard of Spillers until 2 weeks before the complaint. Spillers was not a party. Okay? So the complaint I filed, right? So I did not amend the complaint to specify exactly what. Defendant didn't care. Defendant was going to go to trial and, flush us. Why pay attorney's fees unnecessarily, right? People never believed in me, I mean, I had walked on water again and again and again. I had multiplied fishes and loaves again and again. But people just thought, oh no, that's a fluke. I don't understand that. I told you about the 13 cases that I won. They were like I picked them up in the gutter, nobody would take them. Well, this was number 14. Oh, that's why they didn't take me seriously, because their case was different. Their case was so horrible. Maybe he won these other cases, but no, he can't win this. People tell me this derelict is completely demented. I mean, I'm talking about my client. So they must have believed my client was so demented that he wasn't going to be able to testify, right? So he remembered Spillers, who was there to buy the bar. He remembered McGuire, who owned the bar, owner of the bar, and they were. All he remembered, other than that, as far as the event itself, is he remembered fighting on the back porch of the bar when Spillers and McGuire came out, and Spillers had a pool cue in his hand. And as he stood up, as Hall stood up, Spillers whacked him over the head with a heavy end of the pool cue. And this is funny. It's not funny. He went down on one knee. He got up, ran across the road, and collapsed. And I attended a seminar. That's possible. Shearing injuries are what cause you to pass out. But you have a concussion like that, you don't have to pass out immediately. Well, there's no issue about whether he sustained the injury at that time and the extent of the injury. That was not. They didn't contest that issue. Okay? All right. So. That was his only testimony, and all I remember in this case, as far as my other evidence, was I put on a doctor to testify about the extent of his injuries. I put on his medical bills. Okay, and the testimony of the doctor was he had permanent, he'd be an epileptic, he had grand mal seizures, fell down frothing at the mouth, and he would die with this condition. Right? I think he was 30. I don't remember the defendant putting on any evidence. I'm sure if Spillers had testified, I would have remembered what he said. I don't remember the defendant putting on any testimony at all. Okay. So now I get my judgment. Well, my verdict was $240,000. And it was a typical Darkstream verdict. It didn't take 2 hours for the jury. Oh, and they gave me exactly what I asked. I asked for $250. They gave me $240. Yeah. Okay. that's 1982, right? So maybe it's 1981. I could talk. You'll see if you read this stuff, you'll see. By now, you've read the Supreme Court decision, and it basically recaps what happened. I don't remember anything about this fight moving outside the lounge, and when it was over, Hall, in other words, he's saying that two started fighting over pool game, and then they decided that they would continue their fight outside. There's no testimony about that. And I mean, have you ever heard of or seen anything like that? That's very strange, isn't it? Okay. Spillers hit Hall. Okay. No, here, but when it was over, Hall rose to his feet. No, the fight moved outside. When it was over, Hall rose to his feet and turned to face Wayne Spillers, a lounge patron, and George McGuire, the owner. Spillers hit Hall over the head with a pull cue he had taken from the lounge in violation of posted rules. Hall testified that the blow was without provocation. Spillers testified that it was in self-defense. Okay. That's 1984. Okay. So let's back up to the opinion of the second DCA. The insurance company appealed to the second DCA in Lakeland, and I got a one-page opinion saying that what happened, Judge Boardman said that this was not a basis, this could not sustain a plaintiff's verdict, because what happened, the evidence showed that what happened was that McGuire and Spillers came out of the bar because they heard this fight going on back outside, and Spillers brought a pull cue. No mention of it being used as a cane, right? He's brought a pull cue with him, and when Hall stood up, he threatened and attacked Spillers, and Spillers used the pull cue to hit him over the head in self-defense, right? So therefore, there's no basis for this verdict against Billy Jacks, and it was set aside, and judgment was entered for Hall. Pay off. No question about it. Payola. Okay? There was nothing in the transcript of the trial to support that. The only testimony was about how the fight happened. What happened was Hall's. It was just exactly what I told you. I stood up from the fight, and Hall was standing there next to McGuire with a pull cue, and he hit me over the head with a pull cue. End of story. Okay? That was the testimony, the only testimony about the incident, right? So now it's my turn to appeal, and I appeal to the Florida Supreme Court. And the Florida Supreme Court says what I read. When it was over, Hall rose to his feet and turned to face Wayne Spillers, a lounge patron, Spillers hit Hall over the head with a pull cue. That's basically consistent with the testimony. Now you're going to get the biggie. Now you're going to read the decision that the second DCA rewrote, which is in the Southern Second Reporters. It's now, memorialized. It's in this book. Okay. I wish I could get Tech to put this up, but good luck to me. Tech, can you put up the second DCA decision? I just read this decision yesterday. Okay, it was written in 1982 by the second DCA. It's a rewrite of the what I told you was in the decision, and what the Supreme Court alludes to, summarizes. Okay, there's one paragraph description of the fight in the second DCA decision. Now you're going to get the rewritten. I can't hear you. Hello. Are you? This, if you were to go into a law library today and look at the very beginning now, I'm going to teach you all about law now, or a little bit about law. District Court of Appeal of Florida, filed November 17, 1982. Judge Boardman was the author of the opinion. All the, it's Wayne Spiller's appellate. Okay, and Eugene Hall and Billy Jacks Inc. appellant. No, Billy Jacks is appellant also against the appellee. The appellant is the person doing the appeal. The appellee is the person whose case is being appealed. Okay. All right. And there I am in Tampa representing the appellee. All right, now. Wayne Spillers and Billy Jacks appeal a final judgment awarding appellee and plaintiff Eugene Hall $240,000 against them jointly, and $606. Yeah. See, Spillers was not a party. This was added later. I mean, I didn't know anything about Spillers until 2 weeks before the trial. Okay, he was not a party. Okay. Yeah, so So read down with me. Okay, the jury found in favor of the appellee Hall and against appellants Spillers and Billy Jacks on all issues. Okay. Now this is Billy Jacks and Spillers appealing to the intermediate court in Florida. It's between the trial court and the Supreme Court. You don't go directly to the Supreme Court. Usually, you go to the appellate court, which is the Second District Court of Appeals, Second DCA. Okay. The facts pertinent to the liability of none in Latin, of Billy Jacks are as follows. Okay. Appellee testified he had seen Spillers and a man known as Cuz together at the bar many times. Lie. Absolutely untrue. And both were present that night. Appellee had, we'll just read it. Okay, it's extremely complicated. Some woman testifies, named McGuire. Named Shirlene Voorhees. Again, I don't remember any testimony on the part of the defendant at all. But they've got her and I all this stuff about. We'll just read it. Take a few minutes and read it. Okay. Peg Moreland, Appellee's girlfriend, testified that she had seen Spillers dancing in Billy Jacks. I've never met Peg Moreland in my life or seen her. Okay. I didn't know he had a girlfriend. All right. And she's testifying. She had seldom seen Spillers without his cane, and that when the fight began, he dropped it and started running towards home. No, this is all right. Finish the whole thing, or skim it, whatever you want to read. Now I've got a problem, a real problem. Trying to figure this mess out, figure out what happened. Okay? Now this decision is the decision, except it wasn't this decision. It was a one-page decision. Is what I appealed for. I wrote an appellate brief about this decision, the real one. See, so I know it. I'm vividly familiar with. I can quote it word for word. I was horrified by it, So this is not in the transcript. That when Hall stood up from the fight, he saw Spillers with a pull cue standing next to McGuire, the owner, and Spillers whacked him over the head with the pull cue. Okay? That was Hall's testimony. The Second District Court of Appeals opinion was one paragraph, and it said what really happened, making no reference to the facts or what our position was or what we were saying. Nothing. They simply said, Boardman simply said that Spillers was attacked by Hall and used the pull cue to protect himself and hit so it was pure self-defense, hit Hall, pure self-defense, set aside the verdict, enter judgment for Hall and Billy Jacks. All right, so for enter judgment for Spillers and Billy Jacks, okay? So where did this crazy decision that you're reading on, where did this come from? This is a confabulation. It's a complete invention. It was made subsequent to the real decision of Second DCA, which I had appealed from. and which the Supreme Court responded to. Okay. See, what the Supreme Court is saying is consistent with my version of what the real decision was, which was one paragraph long. And is also consistent the Supreme Court's decision, description of the facts. Here. Wonderful. Now I can't find it. Okay. Well, the Supreme Court's, you have the decision. Read it. See, what it says is that basically that Spillers had the pull cane, the pull stick in his hand. Hall stood up, and Spillers hit him over the head. And Hall said it was without provocation, and there was no. All right. What's going on here? What happened? Well, you must know this very important fact. The Supreme Court set aside the second DCA's decision, its order, and said that no, there's evidence of negligence on the part of Billy Jack's Tavern, but then they did something very strange. I've never seen before in my professional life, 34 years. Instead of just reversing the decision, which they had all the evidence before them, they had the transcript, all the evidence, they could have reversed the decision. But why didn't they? Instead, if you read the opinion, you will see that they remanded it to the second DCA to reconsider its opinion. Why the hell was that necessary? Well, it was clear that my verdict had to be reinstated. Why didn't they reinstate it? Now you have to know what happened. Highly extraordinary. Before the second DCA could do anything, the insurance company offered me $200,000. Okay? Offered my client. And my client, of course, accepted. End of the story. Okay? So, this is what I think happened. I think the Supreme Court read the one-paragraph decision written by the second DCA, and then read my brief, read the transcript, and said, wait a minute, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work. This is too scandalous. So we're going to reverse the second DCA, but we're going to give the parties a chance to resolve this. We're going to remand it to the second DCA for reconsideration, but see, I believe the insurance company and the courts got together and they decided that it was going to be resolved in this fashion. The Supreme Court read the Riot Act to them and said, listen, we can't do this. You know, this is too scandalous, this second DCA. I mean, somebody's going to get the transcript and read Boardman's decision, the second DCA's decision, and, you know, call BS on the Florida courts. So we can't have this. All right, so where did this crazy, they destroyed the real decision, the one I appealed from. They added a party. They added a judgment against the party. You know, none of these things existed, all right? So what are they doing writing this decision? Look, it's obvious what they're doing. They're trying to justify reversing, setting aside my verdict and entering judgment for Billy Jacks. and that's what their cock and bull story tells. It explains why they had to reverse. See, and you can't. Well, I don't know what they were thinking, and I'm speculating right now. I'm telling you, you figure it out. You figure it out. But obviously, the Supreme Court decision is not consistent with the fact, the discussion of facts. The discussion of facts of the Supreme Court decision is not consistent with the discussion of the facts, that is the transcript, in the second DCA decision. There's no way you can reconcile the two discussions of fact, right? Neither the one that the second DCA created later, or the true one that the Supreme Court was really discussing. You know what they do. See, you take the second DCA, the appellate court's decision, you take it up to the Supreme Court, and they read the decision. Now they read the pertinent parts of the transcript. See. Then they discuss that decision, and they say whether or not they agree with that decision. And here they could not agree with it because the transcript did not support it. I mean, absolutely, there was nothing in the transcript to support that version of the assault. Nothing. Of course, see, the Supreme Court didn't tell you that. See, they simply explained why. They didn't say we're not reversing this because the second DCA is lying about the transcript, and this is not a reasonable summary or description of what the transcript says. They didn't say that. They said they just discussed principles of law and then said, based on this recent case, we're going to let the second DCA reconsider. See? But I'm telling you, because I know, I was there. I mean, I put this case on in one day. Yeah, I mean, with picking the jury. On the second day, I argued the case to the jury, and I think they were out for an hour and a half. That's how I remember it. And I can't imagine how it could have been any different, because all I put on was Hall and his doctor, and I don't remember the defendant putting on any evidence at all. I can't remember not one word. None of this stuff about these different parties and Spiller's cane and how he used the pull cue as a cane. That was not in the trial. I know that. 100%. I mean, everything else, or much of the rest, I'm only 99% sure, but I'm 100% sure there was no discussion. Notice there's no discussion of any of those things in the Supreme Court decision either, is there? Okay. This is your America, okay? How many attorneys have experienced this? Oh, bokoodles, okay? It's common. It's common. I mean, not this flagrant. I've never seen anything this flagrant. But oh God. I've seen things as blatant. Yes, I have. I take it back. I've seen things just as blatant. I've seen a judge and a city attorney setting up an appeal, creating grounds in the opening statement. I'm sorry, in the opening statement of the attorneys, creating the city attorney and the plaintiff's attorney, see, they both have a chance to make an opening statement. City makes an opening statement. We go to trial. We select a jury. And the city attorney starts objecting. I'm sorry. The opening statement is after the jury selection. The city attorney objects, and the judge notes it. Objection again. He notes it. Objection again. Totally frivolous things. Okay. Judge notes the objection. Then he asks the city attorney, "Does the city want a mistrial at this time, based on all this misconduct, which doesn't exist? It's just completely innocuous questions." The city attorney says, "No, we don't believe that there's been any fundamental error." Now, after the trial, after the verdict, the judge has a meretricious grounds. The attorney has created a predicate for this action by the court. And believe me, the questions that were objected to were absolutely innocuous. See, I think one of the big things that's wrong with the country and why I need to take over is we don't have journalism. This is not journalism, what we call journalism. I mean, if I explain some things to you, okay, things that happen in front of God and everybody, in front of the FBI, all regulatory, pertinent regulatory bodies of the state, and of course, the local newspapers and so on. The whole citizenry, everybody, silence. Well, you basically had the same thing going on until SIA. God, why can't I think of this guy's name? The 60 Minutes segment that we've been talking about. See, if that should have been in the news. That should have been investigated by news people, journalists, and brought to a stop immediately. This was so flagrant. And so everybody in town, I've explained to you, everybody in town knew what was going on. I mean, within months, certainly. Okay? They knew there was no cocaine involved. It was all rigged. It was all, it's called railroading. Railroading somebody, okay? Planting evidence, etc. Okay? So, I hope Mr. Kowalski has a comment about this. I want to hear more comments. Read these decisions. See? Read them, and I want to make sure Tech puts both of them up. Tech. Oh, jeez. The second DCA decision is, find the notes here. Well, you can look. It's in the Supreme Court decision. The citation is right there, so you can find it with a citation. Oh, I think we put it up the second. I think we put both of them up. Hey, just let me know if you want me to discuss this further, if you understand what I'm saying. I think it's very meaningful. Okay, Tech, you can end it.